Hello and welcome once again to the Cup Experience, covering all the details of the 36th America's Cup. This is show number 15, day number 5, if you're counting, of racing down in Auckland, New Zealand for the 36th America's Cup match presented by Prada. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson, broadcasting from a new, albeit makeshift studio for the Cup Experience. We're now, because of the delays in the America's Cup, we're in the middle of my family's spring vacation. But hey, as they say, the show must go on, and the Cup Experience does. So welcome once again. I'd like to also welcome my co-host, Jack Griffin of CupExperience.com. He's up late at night in Switzerland. Thank you, Jack, as always. And Jack, at the close of our last show, I asked you if you thought we were ever going to see passing in this America's Cup. And to give you credit, you have said since the very first show, expect the unexpected. And that's definitely what we've seen. From capsizes to major upsets to now lead changes. Jack, we have now seen passing not once, but twice in this America's Cup.
Yeah, Tucker, we finally have seen passing. And what else have we seen? We've seen that flying is faster than floating. So keep those boats up on the foils.
Very fair point. We hope we're going to see that tonight. Before we get into tonight, we're going to start with the sponsor 60. As always, 60 seconds to thank those who make the Cup Experience possible. It's beginning with Mount Gay Rum, the official sailor's rum. Find Mount Gay at drizzly.com or order your own cocktail set from the Cocktail Courier link below. And send us your AC watch party photos with Mount Gay Rum. We want to put photos of you guys in our shows. Thank you to C-Deck Adhesive Foam Decking, which will literally transform the deck of your boat. It did for mine, and it did, of course, for American Magic, among many others as well. Thanks to AkzoNobel and All Grip Fast Finishes. The sport's fastest yachts are finished with the All Grip Next Generation Top Coat HDT. Thank you to Rabba and Birking Silver and their American Magic collection, which is now a collector's edition. There are American Magic-themed cocktail tumblers, bottle coasters, and serving trays, and much more. Or you can customize them with whatever you want to put on the silver. You can ask Jack for more info or order them at americanmagic.cupexperience.com. And then finally, thanks to PELLINI Coffee, the official coffee supplier of New York Yacht Club American Magic, with its PELLINI Top 100% Arabica Espresso. PELLINI Coffee, keeping sailors energized. You can find it online at Amazon.com. Well, after 3 days and 6 races in this competition, we started out with a dead heat, 3-3 between the defender Emirates Team New Zealand and the challenger Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. But now momentum may have shifted in this America's Cup. Here's a look at how yesterday's races went down.
3 days in, 3 wins apiece. One question: could the deadlock be broken? More breeze was forecast, but it was shifty too. Perfect for passing. The crews knew it, and so did the crowds. It may have been a Monday, but you'd be hard-pressed to tell. At the start, Luna Rossa rolled over the Kiwis. And by Gate 1 they led. But letting the Kiwis get away after Gate 2 cost them dearly. The defenders had broken through. Their foot was to the floor as they smoked their way to a win.
Almost got them off the start. I'm not sure how much was between the boats there, but then they got that little jump and we just managed to keep digging deep and give ourselves an opportunity up that second beat, which was great to actually get a pass finally. But then also to extend the way we did after we passed was pretty pleasing as well.
Yeah, we had a fantastic start. Jimmy did a great job off the line and resisting that luff. He did really, really well. And we tried to keep them behind us, but obviously without success. We have seen the first pass, unfortunately, was against us.
Next, a Kiwi consolidation or an Italian comeback. The breeze was lighter. Luna Rossa won the start, along with the first leg, but it was close, until a mistake by the Kiwis saw them trail by 4 minutes. An Italian win was surely in the bag, until they too tripped up at Gate 3.
Massive limitation there, boys, on that one.
Falling off the foils, they were stuck, dead in the water, unable to fly, as the Kiwis came charging back into the race. They kept on their foils, kept their composure, and kept their winning streak for the day.
Yeah, well, what a race. It's certainly one
one to keep. There was pretty unreal fight back from the guys there. Obviously, we made a pretty costly error jibing right behind them on the first downwind and fell off the foils, but got it back up reasonably quickly, and then sailed a great race from there. And obviously, they made a mistake in one of the attacks at the top mark here underneath Motahi. It's really light wind and patchy, and they made a mistake, and we never looked back.
Oh, never in the bag, as you saw. Pretty tough conditions. And yeah, we were sailing a pretty good race up until then. Unfortunately, we just fell off the foils and really got sort of stuck up at the top mark for some time, just trying to find enough pressure just to get back up on the foils.
The Italians had won both starts. They had led both races and lost out both times. The defenders now led 5-3, and it was clear where the pressure now lay.
Well, Jack, New Zealand was predicted to be stronger going into this competition, but Italy has held their own, to be fair. They've surprised many, perhaps even themselves. I mean, they've won races. They've proven they're competitive. They've kept the Kiwis at bay until now. One thing I've always said in sailing, it's one thing to start ahead and to cover your competition, but it's yet another to start behind and pass. And that's exactly what the Kiwis have done. It's demoralizing for the Italians, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, okay, the first race, they made a mistake. They didn't cover. The second race was just bad luck, the winding up off your foils for that long. But certainly in that first race, and then for the Italians to come home with no wins for the first time, that is a bit of a downer.
Well, so the big question today, of course, is can they come back? Emotionally, that's going to be tough, but Jimmy Spithill's done it before. Now let's take a look at where things went down yesterday. We've been looking at the pre-starts quite a lot in this competition, and for good reason. It has become one of the most important parts of the racing. And I've been analyzing the pre-starts to come up with some patterns, and I'm going to amend one pattern that we've been looking at. So here are some amended pre-start lessons from the 36 America's Cup. First of all, the Spithill, as I call it, the Spithill lead-in start works. Whether you are leading in because you enter on port or whether you jibe early if you're the starboard boat, leading back has proven to work. What doesn't work? Stopping. These boats are a lot like a car in a parking lot with a brick on the accelerator. You cannot stop the boats. So timing is even more crucial because if you get it wrong, of course you're late. If you are early, you got to keep moving the boat because they get below 20 knots, they come off the foils. So you cannot stop, which means you cannot shut a boat out at the start. The hook also does not work. And I've been wrong about this. Early on, I thought if you're going to push early and go for the hook. Well, we have now learned that the hook doesn't work because of the large wind shadows created by these apparent wind AC-75s. So the teams are not going for the hook. What are they doing? We've started to see a new pattern in the pre-start, Jack. I'm calling it the high, right, wait, and late. What do we mean by that? Well, let's take a look. Going into the pre-start of race number 8. And here it is. So this is Luna Rossa leading back. New Zealand hips up and goes for the high right. Now here they come in a bit too early, and they don't do the wait and late. They come in too early here, and Burling realizes it. So he hips back off there, but he hits the line too early and reaches down, closes gauge, and that gives a strong, tight to leeward start to the Italians, and they lead. So that's, Jack, is where the high right, wait, and late didn't work because they didn't wait. Let's take a look at the pre-start of race 8, where it does work. This time it is the Italians who are going to actually gap off and go for the high right. You can see we're in double time here. Kiwis are leading in, which is normally strong. So what does the trailing boat do? Well, this looks like a little bit of a push, but Luna Rossa is going to gap off big right here. And that's the wait, the high right wait. He sits up there. In fact, I wondered yesterday before the races if we'd ever see boats waiting so long because they can't slow down that they'd come in above the line. That's exactly what happens. Both teams are above line extension here. Kiwis dip below the line. Luna Rossa dips below. But here's the problem. The Kiwis are early, so they slow down, and Spithill comes rumbling in, 31 knots of boat speed, and just rolls over the top. We saw Peter Burling go for a little bit of a luff there and a protest, but it didn't work. And the Italians take the start and end up taking the race. So that's the high right wait and late there. Now, Jack, the question is, is that a move that we're going to continue seeing? Because it seems to be paying off if you can't slow down.
Well, for sure you can't slow down. And we know for sure that we're not going to see these boats dialed up and drifting backwards like we used to see with the lead mine monohulls. So that seems like a really good tactic. And it's a bit of a variation of maybe even, like I'd say, a Vanderbilt start of just, doing a timed run. Not exactly a Vanderbilt start because you don't go away and then turn and come back. But it really has to do with getting your timing right to get to the line with speed. And, you say high right, weight, and late. I say high right, weight, and late, and speed.
Yes, definitely speed is key. And impressively, the Italians did what they had to do in yesterday's races. We went in with the score tied at 3-all. 2 wins would have really made a statement, particularly in the light air, in front of the hometown fans for the Kiwis. You have to give the Italians credit. They started ahead in both races in a series where we have not seen the boat that wins the start lose a race. But then the Kiwis came back. Let's take a look at how it happened. Okay, so this is a virtual look at race 7. We go around the leeward mark, Jack, and here's where the pass occurred. Luna Rossa was ahead in a left-hand favored course. So when they extended to the left here, you would think, okay, that might be the right thing to do. But with a faster boat, positional match racing requires you to clamp down on top of your competitor and stay ahead. And that's not what they did. Now, maybe they were a little bit not confident in their boat speed, very much like America's Cup we saw in 1983. They didn't cover. They went for more left shift. But there, the righty fills in, and Luna Rossa lee bows. It's game over. Emirates Team New Zealand passes them. Jack, my question to you is, why didn't they cover?
I can't explain it. I just think that in these situations, go back to the Max Serena interview. Max said what you have to do to beat a faster boat, get a good start, and then sail tactically and stay ahead of them. Don't let them get a split. They didn't follow the instructions. Just a mistake.
Like I said, it goes all the way back to history repeating itself, back to 1983 when Dennis Conner didn't cover and ended up losing the race. But to be fair to Dennis and to the Italians, they knew they were up against a faster boat. So perhaps that's why they ended up doing that in that case. Anyway, next video we're going to look at is when in the last race we saw lead changes, but this time not due to sailor error. It was due to falling off the foils. Let's have a look. Here we go. New Zealanders coming in from behind so fast and so strong downwind that they decided, hey, let's jibe away rather than get hipped up and stuck to windward of our opponent. But here, Jack, they sail through the Italians' wind shadow, then through their own wind shadow as they did a 180-degree turn there. And then they try to get back up on the foils. They try as desperately as they can, but there the hull kisses down into the water, kiss of death. In an AC-75, Jack, it goes from bad to worse.
Flying is faster than floating, that's for sure. And boy, I tell you, when these things touch down, you get some incredible changes in boat speed and obviously an incredible lead for a little while for Luna Rossa.
So here's my question to you, Jack. You're a faster boat. You're coming in so fast that you've got to make a decision. Do we go above our competitor and get locked out? No. Do we go below maybe and sail into their wind shadow? No. And the breeze is dropping. That button hook jibe obviously wasn't the right call either because they came off the foils. So I thought, well, what else could they have done in that situation, Jack? Here's my question. Could they have put both foils down and just slowed the boat down, which is unusual in sailing? There are very rare moments where you slow down. But had they slowed down, do you think they could have not come off the foils there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you're racing your thing speed. You're not thinking ever slow down, but that is that's an absolutely valid tactic. It's certainly a valid tactic in the pre-start. It's slowing down with the high slow mode on the upwind legs has done Luna Rossa a lot of good. And that's a case where get both foils down, slow the boat down, wait to make your move, don't try to force it. I think it was an instinctive move to jibe away like that, but it was the wrong move.
Definitely the wrong move. Well, unfortunately, New Zealand falls off the foils. Fortunately for the Italians, you'd think it's going to be game over, but Jack, it wasn't. Talk us through what happened next in that race, because it was one of the few times where I've watched a race that was albeit slow on camera, and yet your heart was in your throat, particularly if you were a fan of the Italians.
I think your heart was in your throat no matter who you were cheering for in that race. But the course had a big wind shadow from the island at the top end of the course. There were a lot of spectator boats up there. The wind was going light. Freddie Carr was up in the helicopter and in the commentary. He was saying, it's getting lighter, it's getting lighter, it's getting lighter. Luna Rossa had the bad luck that when they fell off the foils, they did it heading in the direction of more light air, as opposed to Team New Zealand, who were heading in the direction of more pressure when they fell off their foils. And one of the things that was absolutely incredible, there was the moment when they fell off and they decided to carry on towards the right-hand mark. And Jimmy Spithill even said, no drama, we're going to get back up on the foils when we go around the mark. Well, that turned out not to be right. They spent 11 minutes floating. I went back and looked at it. Team New Zealand was off the foils for 4 minutes. It took 11 minutes for the Italians to get back up. They went to the right boundary, picked up a penalty. They sailed back across the course while New Zealand caught up to them over to the left-hand boundary, picked up a penalty there. Sailed back across the course again to the right-hand boundary, started to get up on their foils, said, we're not going to respect the boundary. They went out of bounds, picked up another penalty, a double penalty for doing it intentionally, and then a third penalty for not coming back in time. I mean, everything that could go wrong was wrong.
So take us through that graphically. We've got a worm graph up on screen, Jack. The television commentators go through this at the end of every race, but this is not how you would normally see a worm graph.
Absolutely not. And this is the full race, so you can see the red down low. That's Team New Zealand when they're floating, and look how much wider that gap is, or that period is for Luna Rossa. And we can see when we get to the next detail. And here's the Kiwis in their floating phase. Meanwhile, what you don't see from this is the distance that's happening. With Luna Rossa powering away and getting up to 2,200 meters ahead by the time the Kiwis got going again. If we go to the next one and we take a look at what happened, here we are with that yellow down low. Look at how much time they spent, and those dips, that's boundary. Each time they got to the boundary, they had to jibe. They lost their speed. They'd build the speed. They'd lose it, build it, lose it, and it just took them forever to get going again, forever being about 11 minutes. The race took almost 39 minutes. I mean, you could, if they had not got back up on the foils, they wouldn't have made the time limit. Absolutely an incredible race. Horrible luck for the Italians. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think they just had really, really, really bad luck.
It was one of those races, Jack, where you look at it on camera, and it's going so slowly that if you weren't a sailing fan, you'd think, well, this is kind of ridiculous. But as a sailing fan, like I said, your heart was in your throat. You thought, oh my gosh, they're 4 minutes behind. They'll never catch up. And then you thought, oh my gosh, Italy's now dropped off the foils. And here comes New Zealand ripping back in. And then you question, could we see that happen again? I mean, it was just one of those, like you say, Jack, expect the unexpected. That's been the theme of this America's Cup. So now we're going to move to the Ask Jack section, which is a popular section in all of our shows. Jack, I learn something every time you do one of these segments. This one is about closed-circuit cameras that we are seeing on board the boats so the sailors can see what's going on off the boats.
This helicopter shot gave us a great look inside the cockpits of Team New Zealand. Blair Tuke is on the windward side, so his cockpit is empty. We can see the video screens that he has to look at up in the front. Glenn Ashby is on the leeward side here, trimming the mainsail. That's also the helming station, so Glenn can steer from there when Pete Burling is coming over during a tack or a jibe. We can also see there are video screens at that position. Those are the ones that Pete Burling uses to be able to see what's going on the leeward side of the boat, and presumably that Glenn is using to be able to trim the mainsail. These guys have a lot of inputs that they can use. Nathan Outteridge was fascinated by this, and at the end of the race, during the interview, he was asking Blair Tuke about it. Let's watch and listen.
They go. If we look overhead here, I'm just interested looking inside the cockpits. Check out those camera screens there that right in front of Glen Ashby. They've got screens with data, screens with camera probably pointing at foils, probably pointing at the competition. And isn't that a great shot that we're getting there right now? And the boys up front grinding away. They'll have screens up there as well. And you can see the blue and red dots. That looks like the flight controller handles that Blair Tuke drives. That's the shots that everyone wants to know about. What's under the hood of these boats? Hey Blair, congrats on the win. 2-all must be a good feeling after today. We had some really good camera angles over your boat as you're going downwind with some cool technology in that boat. You know, cameras looking at foils, controllers everywhere. Can you give us some insight on the kind of technology that's inside your boat?
Spill it. What he's trying to say is spill it. Come on, we need some dirt. Let's go.
It looks great.
Well, Nathan Outteridge certainly wanted to know about those buttons and screens, but you can be sure that Blair Tuke didn't tell him anything about the secrets.
Well, Jack, like I said, learn something every time you do that. And my question for you this time is, okay, you're Peter Burling or the Italian helmsman Spithill or Bruni, and we've seen a luff where the boats get close and they're doing, what, 30, 40 knots. And as they get close, you cannot make a mistake, because if you get a penalty, obviously you're going to be out of the race. And these sailors can't see on the leeward side when they're driving to windward. So the cameras do come in handy to make those split-second decisions, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. And you also don't have time to have a conversation with the guy on the leeward side of the boat who's going to tell you or sort of talk you into where you need to make your move. You better have a camera over there looking to leeward so you can see what's going on.
It's fascinating technology. Anyway, moving towards tonight. The big question, Jack, is what will the wind conditions be, and will we see racing?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll see racing, but the winds are forecast to be 6 to 12 knots out of the west. We may not see any racing like 2 days ago, and we may see some crazy racing like yesterday. And one thing I want to see is anybody going to be carrying a code 0?
Very valid point. What race course do you think they'll choose in this light air?
I think they're going to be out on race course A again, but we'll see what Ian Murray has picked out for them.
Race course A, all the way to the upper left of your screen there, which is going to give us the best chance of getting racing in light air. We've already seen one day canceled. Hopefully we won't see another. And one thing I do want to point out to our viewers tonight, Jack, it's slightly sad, or maybe good news, depending on how you look at it, but this could potentially be our last Cup Experience show, because if the Kiwis win 2 races, it could all be over. And we always enjoy hearing from our fans, so we want to hear from you guys again. This time, I've got a new question for you. What do you think we should do with the Cup Experience after the America's Cup ends? We have some ideas, but more importantly, we want to know what you guys think, because it's been a lot of fun producing these shows. So if this is our last show, we want to thank all of you guys for watching. Jack, it's a little bit of a bittersweet sort of conclusion. If this is our last show, I want to thank all of our viewers for watching. I, of course, want to thank our sponsors. And Jack, I want to thank you with our traditional toast. I would say cheers with this Mount K Rum and Coke, but throughout the evening tonight, it has gone down. So here's a cheers to you, my friend. Thanks for doing the Cup Experience.
It's great, Tucker. Let's see how we carry on. Great, and thanks to all the audience for sticking with us.
Well, we certainly hope we do carry on. But if tonight is our last night, thank you very much. Of course, the theme is expect the unexpected. We never know. If it's not our last show, it's going to continue on tomorrow and possibly into the next day before we conclude the America's Cup. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's show. Hopefully not the end, but maybe the end. And if it is, thank you guys very much for watching. So for Jack Griffin in Switzerland up late at night, and for our producer-director, Mason Sheen, once again, I'm Tucker Thompson. Thank you for watching the Cup Experience.